It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering everything from business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life here in the Ozarks. And I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and I'm excited today to be here in the bowels, if you will, of a lot of us locals call it ONF, but it actually stands for Ozark Natural Foods. And I decided to connect with these folks because I really wanted to learn the story about how this co-op started. And also, recently we were able to share a really great episode with an organization that's actually an offshoot of Ozark Natural Foods, which is Appleseeds. And so we will put a link to that episode in the show notes so that you can check that out when you get a chance. But I am here with Mike Anzalone, who is... What's your title again here?
I'm the general manager.
You're the general manager of Ozark Natural Foods. And Mike is, if you saw Mike's desk, you would recognize that he is a man about action. He's got a lot of things going on here. And so, Mike, we appreciate you taking time today to meet with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited.
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here with Ozark Natural Foods.
Okay, sure. Before I do that, though, I would like to say thanks a lot for having me on your show.
Oh, please.
I'm a recent follower of your podcast. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to be fantastic for Northwest Arkansas, but I think you do a really good job with it. I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That means so much. And for those of you that can't see me right now, I am beaming with pride because that's what Mike just shared is actually the goal of mine for this podcast, which is simply to put out a really good product and expose people to some things that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. So thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. You're very welcome.
Absolutely. So your superhero origin story.
Well, I've been with Ozark Natural Foods for more than 12 years. I started off as the retail manager, and then I became the store manager. And then a few years ago, our longtime general manager retired, and I had some ideas about what to do with the future of the co-op, and I was thrown in with a pool of about 45 candidates, and luckily for me, I became the general manager.
Wow, that's great.
I lived in Arkansas most of my life until my family moved to Massachusetts when I was just going into my senior year in high school. We stayed through then, and I finished my bachelor's degree at the University of Massachusetts. And then I just split. I went to the West Coast, lived all up and down the West Coast, got involved in several different careers. But I did, one of my jobs that I had for several years was working for Trader Joe's.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fun store, and it was fun to work for, and it was a really big learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And then at some point I decided that I wanted to move back home. All the rest of my family sort of came back in from all over the country, and everybody was settling in Arkansas or right around Arkansas. And so my son and I moved back. And as it turned out, there happened to be this position at the local food co-op, which was the retail manager position. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in Arkansas. Yeah. I just knew that I wanted to live here because I knew everything that it had to offer, especially Northwest Arkansas, with all the outdoor things that are available here. It's such an amazing place to live. First, I wanted to live in an amazing place, and then I wanted to figure out what I was going to do in that place. And so at the time, I was working for a startup magazine, mm-hmm. and it couldn't quite support me.
Yep.
And so I agreed that I would write for them and edit for them part-time, mm-hmm. and I would take this job to sort of pay the bills. And in about a year, when the magazine, was a little more stable and could take on a full salary, then I would leave the co-op and start with the magazine. And throughout the year, I started to understand what the cooperative business model was.
Yeah.
I had no idea
Yeah.
what the cooperative business model was. And the more I learned about it, the more interested in it I became. And by the time the year was up and I was supposed to, leave the co-op behind and go over to this magazine full time, I just decided I was all in for the co-op. And so I told the magazine that I wouldn't be working for them. And I just dove in. And this is where I've been for more than a decade now.
Wow. That's a great story. I love hearing that. Why don't you, because we talked about this prior to recording this episode, but why don't we just kind of articulate to the audience this whole co-op model, just so they have a better understanding of what separates you from like a regular grocery store, and what is the goal of the model that Ozark Natural Foods employs from a co-op perspective? Sure.
So we can talk about the differences in stores, but the difference in our business model is really where you see something very different. A cooperative is sometimes owned by the people who work there, but in this instance, this co-op is owned by the people who shop here. Mm-hmm. And so people ask me, well, it's just like any other membership. Is that what it's like? It's really not like any other club membership. Legally, the owners, the people who shop here, the members, truly own it. If the board of directors decided that they wanted to end the co-op and they voted to end the charter, basically liquidate the store, all those assets would belong to those people who shop here.
Yeah.
You would literally divide it up between 10,500 people who have signed up to be owners here. And that is really the big difference, is that it's not a membership. It's not just a way of tracking your purchases. It is a shared organization. It's shared by the people who shop here. And it's shared in the sense that everyone who's an owner here is eligible to be on the board of directors. We share profits with the owners when we make a profit. There's voting rights. There's participation rights. It's a group of people who can band together to be a part of this larger capitalist system without being a traditional corporation.
Wow. So that system, and I guess based on what you just shared, I should put a disclaimer out there that I've been a member of Ozark Natural Foods, so I feel like I guess I'm technically an owner here. And,
you are an owner.
Yes, I am an owner, my wife and I, and we have shopped here for up to about 5 years since we relocated here to Northwest Arkansas. My wife is a very discriminating shopper, I might add, and so she only shops at a few places, and her concern, and we kind of joked before we started the podcast, since she's a big Trader Joe's groupie, that because there was no Trader Joe's here, she had to find the next best thing. And I think that ONF fell into that role for her, and that's just because she was so used to going to Trader Joe's on a regular basis, and that's neither here nor there. But I just thought I would put that out there, just because it wasn't planned that I was going to do a show on Ozark Natural Foods, but it was almost a natural progression after the time that I spent with Apple Seeds and what they've been able to do. And I honestly wanted to just find out more. We joined just because you guys were a great resource for us when we moved here, for what you have available, the produce and just the offerings. And so we kind of fell into it by accident. But there are probably a lot of people that are out here looking for this type of shopping environment.
Yeah, of course. Trader Joe's is great. I liked working for them. I liked shopping at them. They were fantastic. But the thing that distinguishes us is that all of our profits stay here in Northwest Arkansas. Sure. We're not even a regional chain. We're not some big organization where there's some corporate office in Texas or in California or whatever who tells us what we're going to do, rolls it out, and then pulls all the profits out of Northwest Arkansas. Our business is here. We're owned by the people who shop here. Local people work here. Local people supply us with our food, and there's an economic exchange that happens that happens almost exclusively in Northwest Arkansas because of the relationships that we have with our food producers, with the people who work for us, with our local banks, and it creates this very small economy of exchanging food, exchanging services, exchanging money, and it all happens in this very small and sort of boutique economy that we all play a part in.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's an ecosystem that requires the trust of each participant. So not only the leadership and the people that run this organization, but also the people that are the owners, if you will, that all have a piece of ONF. But then it's also the suppliers, the people that supply you with all of the fabulous produce and meats and everything else. Just so people have a better understanding, pretty much anything that's in that produce section, most of the meats that you get are for the most part from the local area?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so no, that's not necessarily true. We have a very restricted growing season in Northwest Arkansas. To be quite honest with you, it is tough to grow organic food in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay.
There's a lot of clay, there's a lot of rock. The seasons change very dramatically, and it's really difficult. So what we've done is we have really tried to invest in our organic farmers here, and we do that in a number of ways. First of all, we buy as much from them as we possibly can sell. We try to incorporate it in our prepared foods program. We also try to sell it right off the shelf, and that gives them capital to reinvest in their farms. But we also make investments in these farms just so that they have the equipment or the means to expand their outfits. And we don't in any way restrict what they can do with that. We don't say, like, we're going to buy this deer fence so that you can start growing more produce, and then implement restrictions on them. We want them to sell to other locations. We want them to sell at the farmers market. We want them to sell in local restaurants. We are trying to make organic food become a larger part of the overall food that happens in Northwest Arkansas, and especially the food production in Northwest Arkansas. And so we as an organization, we try to support those farmers as best we can. We try to help them either educationally, financially, economically, however we can through social media. We want people to understand that organic farming is really necessary. That it's can be profitable. It can be you can go out and make a living as an organic farmer in Northwest Arkansas. It is tough. It is tough to be an organic farmer in Northwest Arkansas. God bless every one of them.
Right.
I've had my own tiny little toe dip into growing an organic garden, and it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's also very rewarding. We have some very long-standing relationships with some of our farmers. We work very closely with them on a personal level and on a business level. And part of our mission is to help this movement grow in Northwest Arkansas, but also to sell their food.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. And so just as a matter of understanding, as you describe some of the ways with which you have tried to go out and reach the community, one of those ways was the creation of Apple Seeds. Is that the only organization that you guys have been a part of starting here in Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay. All right.
Now, Apple Seeds, we were trying to decide how we were going to reach the next generation.
Yeah.
So there was a very strong connection to the co-op and the baby boom generation. They were the people who founded us. It's, as the legend goes, hippies and back to landers were, the founders of our organization. And we also recognized that as the co-op grew, it tended to grow in kind of an isolated fashion. It really seemed to resonate with the baby boomer generation, and those baby boomers became more and more a dominant part of the ownership. And we really felt that we had to find ways to reach out to younger people, to educate them about healthy food, to educate them about the cooperative business model. And it started with just a teaching program. It was called Apples in the Classroom. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that some people from ONF would go into the classroom, meet kids, introduce them to food they had never seen before, do some cooking with them, some education, let them taste what organic food tastes like rather than food out of a box. And it started to become really successful. And so the idea was to turn it into a not-for-profit, give it some real legs, help it grow, and then eventually just turn it out on its own. And that's what happened. And I couldn't be more proud of the program that we started, but to see what it's turned into after we let it go was really amazing. I mean, they have this incredible farm. Hundreds of kids come through that thing a year. The teaching kitchen is amazing. The people who work for it and the people who volunteer for Apple Seeds are all amazing people, an amazing part of our community. And it's taken on that educational role that used to just be in the hands of the co-op.
Right.
And now it's stepped out, created a life of its own. It's really an incredible thing to see.
Man, that's awesome. Like I said, I had a chance to visit the farm, which is over there by Gully Park.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is a lot of fun on the east side of town. We did our podcast episode in the teaching kitchen, and I was really impressed. And I mean, it was like 10,000 students that they've seen through that program or more. I mean, it's just the people that they've been able to touch. It's pretty special. And, I'll venture to say that we went to visit with another organization where the youth movement is really important to them, and that's Crystal Bridges. And I didn't know that Crystal Bridges underwrote any school that wanted to bring their kids up to there for a field trip. Not only did they underwrite the busing and getting the kids there, feeding them, and even providing substitute teachers if needed, but it just goes to show the lengths that people go to, especially in this area, to try to give back to the community at large. And I certainly applaud what you guys are doing here at ONF. And I'd love if you had some additional information to share with the audience about ways that people can get involved. Maybe somebody listening to this has never been either to ONF or has gone there and maybe thought, well, because I'm not a member, I can't benefit. I mean, you can still come in here and buy food and
of course
do
you can.
anything that
Everyone's
you want to
welcome
do.
at the co-op.
Right.
You can. I mean, there are a small handful of benefits that go directly to the people who own this co-op, but everyone is welcome to be here, and everyone's welcome to shop here and participate here. The board recently voted to change the membership fees, and it's made it completely accessible. It's only $10 a year until you've paid $140. So $10 a year it's a really easy way to join the co-op and to start figuring out what we do and why there's a difference here. $10, you'll make that up in a couple sales on the sales floor, and it'll pay for itself really quickly. But the co-op is involved in the community in general and in many different ways, and it's what I found is that people who have an affinity toward making a better community, toward really paying attention to the food that they buy for their families and the food that's grown in the community and for the shared economy, that the food is just the co-op is just a really it's like ground zero for where you find out about those things. The information and the participation in the community, it all sort of springs from the co-op, and but it's all centered around food.
Right.
There's some other places in town that you can buy great food, and they're enjoyable shopping experiences, but this is the place that you can come and I believe get the highest quality of everything that you can get in Northwest Arkansas. You can get through the co-op. The connection to the people who grow food in Northwest Arkansas can happen. It can certainly happen at the farmers market, but it also happens in a very substantial way right here at the co-op. And if you're interested in understanding how food is grown, what the benefits are of food, of healthy food, how to prepare it, how to present it, all those things, the co-op is the place to go for that.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, Mike has kind of laid it out for you that if you've never been to the Ozark Natural Foods Co-op, you need to come over and visit. It's over here on College Avenue, right behind the taco place. What's the
Tacos for Life.
Tacos for Life. And well, speaking of which, I mean, I guess it's not really a secret, and we talked about this, but you guys will be moving sometime soon.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We'll absolutely be moving.
Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that and how that whole opportunity came about?
Sure. So if you know Evelyn Hills at all, we're sort of set back from the road a little
Right.
bit. We used to have pretty good visibility from college. You could see us pretty well. There was recently a building just north of us built for it's a Verizon store. Tacos for Life is just crushing it up there. They're doing such a great business. Einstein's Bagels also doing really good business, and all that business in front of us has sort of shielded us from visibility on the street.
Yeah.
And we've recognized recently that it's more difficult to get people's attention from back here.
Yeah.
We have owned this building for about 10 years. And what we decided was to find another location that we think is more visible, has a closer connection to a neighborhood, and it just has better exposure.
Yeah.
And so we found the building on the corner of Lafayette and College. It's the old IGA. It was a CV's for a little while, but I think most people in Northwest Arkansas know it as the old IGA.
Right.
We purchased that building. We're currently selling the building that we're in, and we'll use that money to build out over there. But, man, we're going to change that thing.
I can imagine.
I mean, it's been the IGA, that same Lafayette-facing College building for, I don't even know how long, since the 50s, I think.
Right.
And it's always looked the same, and it's got that ugly brown wall facing College, and you're not going to recognize it anymore. The way our business is going to fit into that building, the way it's going to look, what it's going to offer is going to be so radically different. You're not going to feel like Ozark Natural Foods was plunked in this old design.
Right.
It's going to be something very new and very exciting for the neighborhoods around, for the Dixon area, for the entertainment district, and for everybody who lives and works in South Fayetteville.
Absolutely. No, and I can't wait. You got me excited, and I guess the time frame is sometime in early January of 2020.
So
not to put you on the spot here, because we're anybody listening, we're not putting Mike on the spot with a specific date, but we just want to have an idea when we should be pulling up over there off of Lafayette and North College to come visit you guys.
That is the initial target date.
Okay.
Sometime in January.
Yeah.
We have hired Nabholz Construction to do the construction. They believe that January is a reasonable target date. We've been working with Modus Architects for several months, working on design and development, and we're pretty close with everything. So there's another, say, month and a half of planning, and then we're going to start construction, and then people are just going to see a lot of action going on at that corner over there. And the hope is, it gives us about 5 or 6 months to build. We're going to have a grand opening. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that's exciting. I certainly can't wait to see that. And when someone told me that there were actually going to be windows along the side of that building facing College, and I don't want to give away too much of the design plans and what you guys hope to do, so I'll certainly I want to be pleasantly surprised when we see it. But it sounds like it's going to be very interesting.
You just blew it. You just gave away our biggest secret.
I'm sorry. No, I think
we're definitely opening up to College.
Yeah.
I think it's been the dullest building for so long. You just drive by and you just see that ugly brick wall.
Yeah.
We're going to bust down that wall. We're going to open it up. We're going to have planters out on that side. We're going to have an outdoor seating area. We really want to engage on the College side of that building
and bring the community into it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I did have a question for you with regard to the membership and the people that are part of the co-op. Do you see demographically and just location locationally, is it just people in Fayetteville, or do you have people coming down from Bentonville, Rogers, or Springdale that are like loyalists to ONF?
We do. We have people from all over Northwest Arkansas coming, and we even have people who come from as far as Oklahoma.
Wow.
We have obviously most of our owners and most of our core shoppers are in a few miles from the co-op.
Right.
But we do pull from all over the region. We have owners who are way out in Madison County and Newton County and all around us. But they're not as predominant as the people who live right around here, especially the neighborhoods that we're moving to.
Right.
So South Fayetteville, Wilson Park, the historic district, Mount Sequoia, that's where our main
core folks are.
The bulk of our core folks. It's interesting. Our marketing manager has been looking into some demographics recently, and we've been under the impression that, like I mentioned earlier, that predominantly we were shopped by baby boomers. And what we found is that that's no longer the case. We've really, it's shifted a bit. And it's about a third of our sales go to baby boomers now, a third Gen X, and a third to millennials. And so it shows that there's the cooperative business model and the quality of our food is starting to resonate multi-generationally.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting.
Well, and I think people are just trying to eat right when and where possible, right? And I think that,
Absolutely.
I mean, besides the really healthy prepared foods that you have, I mean, I had some colleagues at work when my office was just up the street that would come down here religiously to get the juice and to get some of the sandwiches and other prepared foods that you guys have. And they would always say, well, at least I know that this stuff is really good. And the quality of what you use is what you put out to sell every day. So
that's right.
It's just
that's
really
right.
good.
We don't shortchange our hot bar. We don't shortchange our prepared foods in order to create the lowest price point or to get the highest margin out of it. We really look to the quality of food that goes into it. It all meets a very high standard. Everything in our produce department is either organic or certified naturally grown. A lot of people haven't heard of certified naturally grown. It's a farmer-led standard rather than a government-led standard, but it certainly meets or exceeds the organic standard. And so, all the food that is throughout those two departments, it's just the highest quality food in Northwest Arkansas. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly put. And even beyond that, just outside of the food stuff, you guys have a ton of other items, lotions and things of that nature, all natural stuff that that doesn't have all of the extra chemicals and things that you don't want and things that you're putting on your body. You have those as well, which is really cool. And I noticed that it seems like you've added a lot of new plants. and some plants that I've been looking at for a while now to purchase, and then I hadn't seen them here, and then I walk in here today and I saw them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are really cool. So
yeah, our homestead department has just taken off like crazy over the last 2 years. That started. We were the first all organic feed store in Arkansas, and we just had like 4 or 5 different types of chicken feed, and I think we had a goat feed or something like that. And we were just catering to some local farmers. There was a need for them to get access to organic feed, and it was in the basement, and not many people knew about it. And people would either come and buy a ton at a time, or they'd buy plastic buckets full. And then a handful of years ago, we decided to move it upstairs, give it a storefront location, move our pet supplies over there, try to get a little bit into gardening supplies, and it's just exploded. I mean, it grows probably quicker than any other department in the store, and the plants have just been phenomenal. Succulents, houseplants, plant starts, and now just flowers and cut flowers. It's been incredible to watch the growth and to watch how people have been so attracted to those products. It's amazing.
And it's a great welcome as soon as you walk in. I mean, there's just a beautiful array of tulips and plants. And so in addition to the food and the coconut water, and I mean, I can still play it out in my head and see it as you walk in. It's so inviting. And so it's pretty cool to see what you guys are doing here.
Yeah,
so,
fun times around the co-op.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as we close out, is there anything or any information that you'd want to share and encourage any of our listeners to get off of their iPhones once they listen to this podcast and come on down to the co-op and join? What would you say to them to encourage them to be a part of what you guys are doing here?
Yeah, this is yours. This is your opportunity to be a part of something much bigger than yourself. No one person owns this. No family owns this. No corporate board of directors owns this. Even our board of directors just has a single share in it, like anybody else.
Yeah.
This is something that's here to be a part of, to participate in, you can be as active or as inactive as you like, but it's yours. It belongs to Northwest Arkansas. We're not going to be a chain that's going to stretch out through the rest of the state and into a regional group. And, you're not going to find us in Texas, and we're not going to lay out our floor plan all across the country. This is specifically here for people who live in Northwest Arkansas. You have influence over the direction we go. It's the things you buy and the suggestions you make that determine what we bring in, what departments we cultivate. It's unlike any other business I've ever seen. Every single person can be involved in the direction and the success of this food co-op.
Yeah, and I noticed, just to put this out there as well, and I don't know what the time frame is, but you're also looking for board members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
How many board members do you have?
We have 7 board members.
Okay, and then how often do they? How long are you a board member for? A year or 2 or?
They're 3-year terms.
3-year terms. Okay.
And they divide it up 3-3-2. So depending on which election cycle you're in, we're going to flip at least a couple board members, or those board members will be reelected. But anybody who's been an owner at the co-op is eligible to become a board member and serve in that capacity. And I was having a conversation with a local businessman. He was telling me that, he knows a lot of people who are very giving in Northwest Arkansas, successful people, and they like to give back, and they generally give back their time by serving on, boards of directors for not-for-profits, and they do things with the city council, and they participate those ways. And we both recognize that for some reason it's not on people's radar to serve their community by serving on the board at the co-op.
Yeah.
When really it's a fantastic way to give back. Currently, we've grown to 10,500 owners, and to be in a position to help and to help guide and to serve that large portion of the community is really valuable. And we're not a co-op unless we have a functioning board of directors.
Exactly.
That is the representation of the people who shop here and the people who own this co-op. And it's got to change, and we need varying expertise, and we need people who are just committed to spending a little time each month in paying attention to what's going on at the co-op, helping provide vision, helping provide oversight, and keeping this co-op strong and growing and healthy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's perfect. I think that is there an application process for this, or
there is?
Okay,
I believe there's a link on our website.
We'll put that on in the show notes. When is the final date to be considered? Because I don't know. People may be listening to this podcast a year from now. It might be too late for you, but there's always an opportunity, and you should, if you are so inclined, and if you aren't already a member of the ONF Co-op, I'm sure that after you listen to this podcast, you're going to become a member of the ONF Co-op. And if you become a member, then we would encourage you that when you do hear an announcement for an addition of adding some members to the board based on the fact that, as Mike said, they turn over every couple of years, you should throw your hat into the ring and see if you can provide some perspective and some insight and understanding to this growing organization, because like Mike said, they need your help.
Absolutely. There's a lot of ways to contact the co-op and a lot of ways to get involved. We're pretty active on social media, both Facebook and Instagram.
What's your Instagram? Didn't want to put you on the spot,
Don't
but
put me on the spot.
I think it's Ozark Natural Foods, if I'm not mistaken. But
I'm sure it is.
We will put that out there for everybody to see. But I'm almost 100% certain that that's what it is. Ozark Natural Foods. That is it. Ozark Natural Foods. And you can follow them to just find out what's happening at the co-op, and there's great photos and other information. And you actually had posted something the other day, which I thought was really interesting. And we'll kind of end with this, and that you put down a lot of information here about what you guys are doing. But you said, as a local autonomous grocery store, we have the freedom to support local farmers who may not have large enough production to sell in other stores. It also means that we can work closely with all of our producers as they grow with us. This means that we carry some of the freshest and best tasting local produce you can get.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's other things that are written in here, and I'll post this on the show notes, but I mean, that captures the essence of what you guys are all about.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. So, well, Mike, I really appreciate you having us down here, and if you guys heard some of the ambiance in the background, this is a working grocery store, so we had a chance to come behind the curtains, if you will, and see what ONF is all about. And this place is the real deal. So I want to encourage you, if you're new to Northwest Arkansas, please come out to Ozark Natural Foods. They are located on College Avenue behind Tacos for Life, soon to be at the corner of Lafayette and North College. They're in the historic district of Fayetteville. And I don't care where you are, Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, you need to drive down here to Fayetteville and come check out ONF, as the locals say. And, get some produce, get a juice, a fresh squeezed juice. I love the almond butter that I get here all the time. I mean, they have a little bit of everything for you. So I really want to encourage you to come check out Ozark Natural Foods. Come check out Mike and the rest of his team here. And if you do stop by, let the folks know that you heard about it on the podcast, I Am Northwest Arkansas, and that you really wanted to come in and see what all the fuss was about. So how does that sound, Mike?
That sounds fantastic. Can I just say one last thing?
Sure.
If anybody's interested in finding out more about the co-op, obviously social media, our website, onf.coop. But I'm always available. You can come ask for me anytime. If I'm available, I'll come out and speak to you directly. You can call. They'll put you right back through. My email address is mike@onf.coop. I'm always here for owners or people who are interested in becoming owners, just to talk about this amazing thing that we have here, this amazing resource that we have.
Well, there you have it. That's perfect. And I love you end with that, because that really personalizes it. And a lot of times you go into stores and you don't know anybody that works there. But now that you folks listening to this podcast, you know Mike, come down, say hello to him. Come check him out. It's just like back in the day, we used to know our butcher. We used to know our baker. We used to know, the person that ran the local market.
That's right.
Now you can know Mike, and it's a much more personalized interaction. And you feel like, wow, you're dealing with someone that you know, and, like they say on Cheers, where everybody knows your name. So come on down to ONF and come visit Mike Anzalone and the rest of his team here. I got to say, every time I come in here, people meet me with a smile. They are quick to help you out. Very friendly staff. This is an awesome organization, and I'm just glad to support it in a very small way here on the podcast. But please check out ONF when you can, Ozark Natural Foods, right here in Fayetteville. Again, Mike, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in today.
Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. Thanks for listening to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. We are available wherever great podcasts can be found. Come check us out. If you like the podcast, give us a review. We prefer 5-star reviews, but give us a review nonetheless. Let us know what you think about the podcast. And please share with a friend. Remember, sharing is caring. And we would love to have you share this podcast with somebody that you care about. So that's all we have for now. We will see you next week. Remember, our podcast drops every Monday at 12 noon. We will have a new episode for you. And in some weeks, we'll have more than one episode as a special thank you to our audience. We really appreciate each and every one of you that is a listener of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. We hope you continue to have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.